Welcome to the WanderLearn podcast. I'm your host, Tapon. In this episode, I have Simon and Carla Fowler of the Sailing Ocean Fox. Go to sailingoceanfox.com to learn more about them. They've got a 40-foot catamaran, the Ocean Fox, which they've been using to sail for the last 3 years. And it's trying to make a new life for themselves just on the water. And we talk about the ins and outs of doing that because it's one of my dreams to go sail around the Pacific Ocean and sail around the world for that matter. And I just kind of picked their brain about the challenges of doing that. And how do they buy their boat? What are some of the logistics that are involved? How is it doing it in the age of COVID? And all sorts of other issues. This episode is brought to you by my wonderful patrons at patreon.com/ftapon. Please join there and also write me a review. I need some more reviews, please. So go ahead to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and write a review for this WanderLearn podcast. Thanks again. This is Tapon encouraging you to wander and learn. Now enjoy this episode. Welcome to the WanderLearn podcast. I'm your host, Tapon. I'm here with Simon and Carla Fowler, who have been sailing the world for nearly 3 years on the Sailing Ocean Fox. He's from the UK originally. Carla speaks Portuguese, so therefore she's from some Portuguese-speaking place. Carla, tell us a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, I born in Angola. And when I was about 10, it was the civil war there. So my parents decided to leave. I mean, they had to leave. So we came to Portugal just for a while. And then we went to Brazil because my father got a job offer in Brazil. And then I stayed in Brazil. I lived in Brazil with them for about 15 years. So then after that, I decided to come back to Portugal and raise my children in Portugal. So that's what I did.
Okay, so I think, Carla, you're the one to blame for this crazy boat journey that you're on. So tell us a little bit about how this all came about. It was your bad idea, right?
Yeah, I'm the guilty one.
I've got no idea why she came up with it, actually, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd been together for about two and a half years.
Yes.
And we decided we'd get married, and we decided we'd get married in Barbados.
That was your first mistake right there, getting married.
So we had our 4 children there, who were all young adults. We've got 2 each. Carla got 2 daughters, and I've got a son and a daughter. And 2 days after we got married, we're lying on the beach on the sunbeds, and all of a sudden she comes out with this idea, should we sell the house and buy a yacht and go sailing? And I have to say, I thought about it for about 2 seconds and said yes.
Okay, but hold on. I mean, prior to marriage, Carla never even mentioned a sailing boat?
We've been a weekend sailing for a weekend.
We haven't.
We haven't. It was after. Yeah, that's right. That was after.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, we haven't.
I mean, I had a dream I'd had full yachts before, although I hadn't actually been sailing for 15 years. And I kind of had a dream that one day I'd like to spend a summer sailing around the Mediterranean, like 3 months. I mean, that was my biggest goal or ambition. To suddenly be confronted by this idea that we would actually sell the house and buy a yacht and go off and live on it was actually quite dramatic, really. Carla just came out with it. I've got no idea why. She likes wandering and traveling, and I guess she
from there was just organizing, wasn't it? Tell the children.
Yeah, well, we kept it quiet for about 6 months.
Yes.
And we were flipping some houses at the time in order to try and make enough money. And we had a little family get-together, a barbecue, and we told them that we were going to sell this house that we were in at the moment and go and sail off into the sunset. And they were not that amused, to be honest.
No, they said we were irresponsible teenagers.
Yeah.
And you said exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter was quite upset. She was very worried and concerned.
Yeah, because we came up with the plan that we were going to cross the oceans and things like that, and they thought it was too dangerous. Yeah. Just us on the sailboat.
And neither of you had ever sailed.
Yeah, I
haven't.
I'd sailed, but my sailing was really quite local, around the south coast of England, and also I'd sailed across to France and the Channel Islands, but I'd never spent more than one night at sea. And,
so let me ask you a quick question. So Simon, the going across the English Channel to me sounds impressive. it's not like
It's a bit tricky, actually, to be fair.
Right.
It's not the simplest bit of water to cross.
Correct. And so let's say on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 is like sailing on a lake, for example, like a calm lake. And then a 10 is going across the Drake's Passage down by Tierra del Fuego. So where would you put the English Channel, and where would you put, let's say, the Atlantic Ocean and then the Pacific Ocean?
Okay, well, this is really quite varied. I'm not going to give you a straight answer, to be fair. But let's say you're going across to France. It's around about 60 miles, point to point. It's going to take you around about 10 to 12 hours. You're going to pick your day. You're not going to go in a day when the wind is really blowing and there's gales coming in. So you're going to pick your weather slot, and you're going to set off around. You're doing around about six knots. So you can actually have quite a nice sail going across. And therefore, I'd actually put that in about level 4, because you are going to pick your weather. When you start crossing the Atlantic, there's 2 different ways of going. If you're going from Europe to the Caribbean, you would go south and through the trade winds, which will take you down to the Canary Islands, then down to Cape Verde, and then you'll go through the tropics to the Caribbean. And that trip, you'll have the wind behind you all the way. It'll be an absolutely stunning sail, fantastic. It'll take around about 3 weeks, depending on how long you stop for. And I would probably say that's around about a 5 or a 6, because if you go at the right time of the year, there's no hurricanes, it's a beautiful sail. Coming back across the Atlantic, you do the northern route, which is, say, from the Bahamas, like we did, up to Bermuda, across to the Azores. But the weather window to do that in is quite small, because you have to leave the Caribbean before the hurricane season starts in June. But June's the earliest that you want to be sailing in that part of the Atlantic, really. So your weather window is quite small. It's only a few months of decent weather. And it gets very tricky. And I would say on our journey back, we had some pretty tough sailing conditions. I'd certainly put that up around about 6 or 7. Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. And what about the Pacific Ocean?
Well, I haven't sailed the Pacific Ocean, but my understanding is that from everybody I've spoken to and what I've read is that if you leave Panama and head down towards Australia, you go by the Galapagos and then French Polynesia. It's a very, very good sail. You do it again, you choose the right time of year to do it.
It's supposed to be easier than the way back from the Atlantic.
Yeah, much easier than the way back across the Atlantic. I mean, one thing about weather forecasts is that they're really only any good for about 5 days. And then after that, they'll give you another 5 days, which is a kind of judgment, and that changes. So if
for a longer journey, you can't have the whole forecast.
And so you've got to take what comes, basically.
Yeah.
So what we do is we use a guy who's called a weather router. And the one we use is he lives in Spain. He's English, and he sends us an email every day over the sat phone, and he tells us the weather conditions for the next 24 hours, and he'll give us a point to aim for or a point to go towards in order to give us the best possible conditions that we can get. And he's got a lot more detail than I can get over the sat phone in way of weather. Oh,
interesting.
Forecast.
Well, how much does that service cost for the weather router?
The weather router is actually he's €15 a day, which is an absolute bargain, I think. And
it's well worth it.
It's well worth it. Okay, you've got to have a sat phone because you've got to get the information somehow. But the sat phone's around about £150 a month for the airtime.
If you had internet on your boat, would you still need the weather router?
Well, that is the internet on the boat, isn't it? We have a system called Iridium Go, which gives us internet connection, but we can't actually go on the web, for example. All we can do is send emails, receive emails, and
you can't go on Facebook or anything like that now. You just
really?
It's just emails.
They must have such internet systems.
Yes,
like
there are. Some friends of ours have a very nice, nearly 60-foot catamaran, and they came across the Atlantic to the Azores this year, and he had his 2 teenage children on board, and they had a system so that they could do all their home study, and also they could watch Netflix. right in the middle of the Atlantic. And the cost of that service was
$5,000 per month.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so it's not for everyone.
No.
It's not for us for sure.
No.
Wow, 5,000.
And that was unlimited broadband internet. Yeah.
Wow. So I imagine people who are listening to this in the year 2030, that they will say, God, you guys had it bad back then. Because nowadays, it's only $50 a month or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It will be, won't it? I mean, that is the reality of it. Is. And it will be high speed wherever you are in the world. So you could be in the ocean and you could be doing this Zoom call.
At the moment, what we have to be very patient because it takes some time to get the emails and to send it. Yeah.
Where are you guys calling from right now?
We're on the south coast of Portugal, the Algarve, and we're sitting in a little, it's rather a large estuary actually, called Alvor, which is absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning. And we've been on the anchor now for about 3 days, and we're going to be here for another 3 days, and then we're going to go along the coast to go into a marina for a few days.
So where you're mooring your boat currently, it has Wi-Fi?
We have mobile phone GSM phones.
I see. Okay, so this is piping through your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah. What percentage of ports that you kind of moor at do have actual Wi-Fi?
If you go into marinas, most of the marinas tend to have Wi-Fi, but
it's not fast.
No, it's not fast. It's
Toby.
Sorry. It's not fast, and we tend to use the mobile phone. And depending on where you go, the cost is changes enormously. Yeah, depending on what country or what island.
So they almost never provide it for free.
No, not in the sort of Caribbean islands. No, they wouldn't be free. No.
So in some sense, it seems like the sailing culture. I mean, it kind of reminds me somewhat like to the backpacking culture for those people who are hiking across mountains, in the sense that you don't go sailing just like you don't go into the woods hiking in the mountains in order to stay in touch with technology. You're kind of expected to a certain extent to, like, you can get technology, but it's going to cost a pretty price because that's not our priority.
Well, if you ask Carla, she wants the technology all the time.
Because what we do, I mean, we are YouTubers, so we need to be connected to the world, and we need to interact with our followers. So we need to be online all the time.
Yeah, we do, as much as possible.
So it costs a lot of money, yes.
Yeah. But the YouTube is the most difficult because that's such high bandwidth.
Yeah, we have to upload the videos, and we upload 3 videos a week. It is a problem. Yeah. It's always a constant problem.
I mean, say for example, a 10-minute video here on a G4 system telephone. A 10-minute video probably take us around about 5 minutes to upload. But we've been in places where that's taken 20 hours to upload.
Yeah. No, I believe it.
It's that slow. It's that slow.
Yeah, I believe it. Luckily, I guess 5G is kind of rolling itself out, so that should help quite a bit.
Yeah, but there's places that don't have 4G or 3G, and they're still on 2G.
Yeah.
And if you go to Cuba, for example, there's no mobile cellular phone system. You have to have a Wi-Fi card. And there's little Wi-Fi hotspots all over the place. And then you can buy a card, costs $1.
And you have to be on the range of the tower, otherwise it doesn't work. So things like that. So it makes things more complicated.
Yeah.
Carla, what made you? Where did you get this inspiration to, let's say, pop the question, say, "Hey, why don't we sail across the world?" What was this, a childhood dream of yours that you kind of been suppressing?
I have always been around the boats, motorboats, not sailing boats. So I always liked the sea. I always had a connection with the sea. So it was something that I always liked. And traveling was all in my blood too. So I don't know, Simon had this dream, and then I thought, why? I couldn't see work 3 months in the summer for us because of work. I mean, how I was going to do about work, stop working and 3 months later come back and get another job. I couldn't see that working. So I just came up with this idea. And we made it work. It wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy. It was quite difficult, actually, A, buying a boat, and B, getting rid of everything, because we didn't want to have a huge shipping container storage of something. So we gave a lot of furniture and stuff away to our family, and we gave other stuff away to charity shops. and left it on the pavement for people to collect, that kind of thing, to get rid of everything. We had quite a short period of time to do it in as well. We have a strange thing in the UK where you sell a house, but you don't know when you're moving or whether it's actually going to go through until about a week before, and then it's all panic. So
in a week, everything had to happen. It was quite difficult.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the boat was in Croatia, which is down in the Mediterranean. And so we had to get everything that we were taking with us shipped down there. And we actually got somebody from Serbia to come and collect it and take it down to. So we thought when it went, we thought goodbye, we'll never see it again. But miraculously, it turned up about a week later at exactly the right time, in exactly the right place. So it was all quite exciting actually.
And so you flew down then to Croatia, or did?
We flew down.
We flew
didn't
down. We rented an apartment for a week because the boat wasn't going to be ready for another week.
No, there was a few things that had to be done. We had paperwork to deal with and getting the money transferred and things like that. So,
how did you find the boat originally?
Well, funny enough, we were buying another boat in Italy, and we'd actually put a deposit down on this boat, and we were just finalising the agreement, and then the guy pulled out. And so we managed to get our deposit back from the broker.
Why did he pull out?
Well, he had it under charter. So the guy owned the boat, but he had it with a charter company. And basically the charter company said to him, well, if we don't have this boat for charter this year, we're going to charge you for the profit. And so somewhere along the line, his contract with the charter company was more bulletproof than he thought. And the charter company basically didn't want to lose the boat.
So made a lot of pressure. And he didn't want to put up with the costs, so he decided not to sell it.
He decided not to sell it in the end.
So we didn't sleep for a few days until we had our money back.
And then we were scanning through the internet, and this particular boat, Ocean Fox, came up, and it was in Croatia. And this was about 10 days before we were going to leave the house. And
wow! So you were really down to the wire.
We were down to the wire. Carla was still working, and she said, "Okay, you go to Croatia and don't come back unless you bought it." And that was my instructions. So.
One-way trip.
It was. And it was fantastic. I mean, the snow and ice was on the roads when I went down there. It was that cold.
So you bought it after you did get to see it in person before you bought it.
I did. Carla didn't.
He didn't.
Right. Yeah. And so what website did you use?
I can't actually remember, but there's a lot of international websites like yachts.com and boats.com and things like that, where you can search for boats. And we pretty well got it refined what type of boat we wanted. For example, we wanted a catamaran, and then once we decided we were going to have a catamaran, we decided we wanted a Lagoon, which is a French brand of catamarans.
Why did you want the Lagoon?
We went to a boat show, and we saw all of them, and we saw the differences between them. So that's when we decided we wanted the Lagoon.
And also we felt that it even though it's one of the biggest production boats in the world, is well built, I think, and it's certainly been tested with us. But also it's got a good resale value.
Today's show is brought to you by Sawyer. Sawyer's the same guys that make the microfilters and water filters. Are you aware that Lyme disease, which is spread by ticks, is the fastest growing infectious disease in the United States and has been found in all 50 states? Lyme disease can cause neurological disorders such as Bell's palsy, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and even severe allergies to red meat. That will make you a vegan. You got to watch out for that. Sawyer helps keep you safe. Sawyer's permethrin insect repellent repels and kills ticks, mosquitoes, and more than 55 other types of insects. It is designed for shoes, clothing, backpacks, and other outdoor gear, and will even be safe for your dog. It provides an odorless barrier for protection that lasts for up to 6 weeks and can go through the washing machine 6 times. If you use Sawyer's permethrin on your shoes, that makes you 74 times less likely to be bitten by a tick. So check them out. Thanks to my sponsorship, and be safe out there from the coronavirus and Lyme disease. When I hear biggest production boat, I actually think that's a good thing because it reminds me of, like, say, having a Toyota in Africa. It's just you're going to find spare parts everywhere. You're going to see it everywhere. All the mechanics are familiar with it. That's the advantage.
And there's very good Facebook groups and things for
Right.
each particular model of the boat, and owners help each other out.
What
and
is
things like
special about the Lagoon?
I think they're probably, well, first of all, I think they're probably built better than some of the other catamarans. Secondly, they're definitely a very cruiser orientated and roomy boat. So
Very comfort.
it is. You have to remember, even though we've done 22 or 23,000 nautical miles at sea over the last 3 years, we spend an awful lot of time sitting around at the anchor, enjoying the place, or sitting in the marina. And the actual time that you're spending sailing or traveling is much smaller. It's probably only around about 10 or 15% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you spend a lot of time, especially in the Caribbean, at anchor, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And you basically want somewhere that's really comfortable. It's got big lounges, places to sit, places to see out, and things like that. And that's kind of what went for us, appeal for it, yeah.
I see, understood. What lessons did you learn from buying a boat that you could pass on to the listeners?
It was very stressful.
It's very stressful.
Extremely stressful.
It's not very easy.
I never thought you have the money, you want to buy a boat, it's an expensive thing to buy, and it's so hard to do it.
Yeah, I think you need to set a budget. We set a budget originally, and we completely blew our budget when we decided, first of all, we're going to have a monohull, and we're probably going to spend about 125,000 euros on one. And in the end, we bought a catamaran, and it was double that price, just to put it in perspective.
Right.
But I think you really need to get to your budget and be realistic about it. Then probably add at least another 20 or 30,000 pounds or euros on to do modifications to it, because a lot of boats aren't actually geared up for living in isolation, living offshore in a way.
This was geared up for weekend sailing, so it wasn't for distance sailing, and we wanted to distance sailing, so we had to add like a water maker, another plotter.
Maybe
We had to add, and then they will come with showers. We had to add generator. We had to add a wind turbine to help generate electricity and things like that. So
why couldn't you just buy a boat that already is outfitted that way?
Well, that would have been a possibility, but we were struggling to find a boat in the first place in the time scale that we had. So, and there was a lot of good things about this boat. Okay, it didn't have a freezer, but it had 2 fridges. The winches that pull the sails up and down and things like that, they were all electric on this boat, which they weren't on most of them. It had been professionally maintained from new. It had never been chartered. So there was a lot of good things to take into consideration with this particular boat. And so inevitably, I think when you buy a boat, you're going to add on some extras to customize it to the way you like it. It's not quite the same as buying a car and sticking a roof rack on. You know, it's sort of kind of like a bit more complicated than that. And we wanted to live as much as possible off grid. And we can pretty well do that. We don't really need to do anything apart from generate some hot water. But if you're in the tropics, you don't need hot water.
No. So we can easily stay like 3 months off the grid, and it's fine as long as we have internet.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't have solar panels?
Yeah, we have solar panels.
We do solar.
Okay.
Yeah, so the solar panels and the wind turbine creates enough electricity, and the water maker produces enough water so that we've got water and we've got electricity. Okay.
And so the only thing that you need, let's say, fuel for is either moving the boat, if you're using by motor, I imagine you have a motor.
Yes.
And then the other thing is to heat up hot water?
Yeah, that's it. The only way we can get hot water is by using the engine, or the starboard engine. We've got 2 engines. Or when the boat is in the marina, we plug it into an electrical supply, and then it automatically makes hot water.
I see. Okay. So now, if you had solar panels or a wind turbine, could it be feasible if you just, let's say, had more solar panels or a bigger wind turbine, you could generate that hot water without?
Yeah, we could. There's 2 things we would have to change. We'd have to increase our. We've got around about 500 watts of solar panel. We'd have to at least double it, or even get it up to about 2,000 watts. That would give us a lot more electricity, because solar doesn't work 24 hours a day. It only really works in a slot. depending on where you are in the world, because it basically has to have the sun above it. So you don't get full 10 hours or 12 hours of electricity. You might get a little dribble, but you don't get that much. And so you've got to get a lot of solar to get the intensity on it and to get the amps going into the batteries. The other thing we would have to change is the battery bank. We've got some quite sophisticated AGM gel batteries, 880 amp hours worth, but we would have to change them to lithium and probably need 1,000 amp hours of lithium. And then another thing that we have is we have a 3 kilowatt inverter, so we can change our 12 volt electricity or 12 volt DC electricity into 220 volts AC. And then we could actually use it to heat the water.
Got it. Okay, interesting. Well, I guess the other solution, what I do when I'm camping is, you can have a black bag that's just, if you put it outside in the sun and it's filled up with water, it will certainly warm up the water quite a bit to the point of scalding in certain temperatures.
That's another solution. Yeah.
But quite honestly, once you're down in the tropics, you really don't need it. Right. Cold water is fine for showering.
Right. No, I know that because all my time in Africa, I was quite happy to take a cold. And sometimes it was. I remember in Sudan, in the hottest time of year in Sudan, I turned on the water. And it was so hot, it was scalding. I had to wait until it cooled down.
I could imagine.
Because they put the water tank up on the roof so it's just getting the first pipe. So now you guys, some of the misconceptions people have about sailors, that they are wealthy and rich and that kind of stuff, but you're not. So tell us a little bit about how you had to finance this somehow when you have a modest income or savings.
Well, we had to sell our house.
Yeah, we had to sell our houses, we had to sell our cars, and we had to kind of get as much money as we possibly could up together. We basically survive off our YouTube channel and writing articles. And also we do take people on board as well for what we call a liveaboard experience. So people can contact us through our website and they can come and spend a week on the boat and actually learn. It's not like a charter.
It's not a charter. No. It's just living the boat life as we do. It's just. Is
it like an Airbnb kind of thing? It's like for boats?
Yeah, but it is. But it's all about finding out the technical things about living on board. So if you were thinking about having this lifestyle, you could come and spend a week with us. You would learn about anchoring. You'd learn about using the tender, going ashore, going shopping, hunting out for propane. All the things that anything that comes up. So if there's a toilet blockage that week, then you'll learn about how to clear the toilet blockage, for example. So it's a real sort of hands-on experience as opposed to sunning yourself on the foredeck and enjoying the week. Yes.
And how much do you charge for that experience, or do you have different options?
We charge about $5,000.
$5,000 for two people for a week, and that's all inclusive.
All inclusive. Yeah. Less alcohol.
I see. Okay, got it. So basically, $2,500 per person in this case, but and it's for somebody who wants to spend a week on a boat and have a real life experience.
Yes. And going to a new place and learn where you go and buy some bread or go for groceries, because every time we arrive in a place, it's a new place for us. We have to learn everything about that place.
Yeah, and also things like checking into a country and checking out of a country. We try to include that in it as well, so they can see how the paperwork's done. Passports and immigration and all that sort of thing, which is slightly different to turning up at an airport somewhere.
Do you have, for these people who, let's say, want to kind of experience that, I imagine some people just want to just kick back and relax. Other people really want to know the nuts and bolts of how do you, fix the engine and the motor and all that stuff. And so you leave it up to the individual, I imagine?
We have a sort of, we design a sort of program for the week, but if there was something specifically that they wanted to find out, then we would include it.
Okay, so that includes, let's say, navigation and how to, get around.
Yeah. I mean, all the navigation, I can actually use a sextant and take a noon sight and work out where I am in the world. But typically all the navigation is done on electronic rolling charts. And it could kind of the same sort of thing you do in your car, really, except there aren't any roads. And via GPS, yeah.
Right. What was for you the most difficult part of sailing that was not expected, that was difficult? Obviously, maybe buying a boat was more difficult than you expected, but once you had the boat, what is the most difficult thing about living the sailing life?
I get very seasick, very, very seasick, which I wasn't at the beginning. It's getting worse all the time. So it is hard for me. It's really, really complicated because the first 2 days when we go out sailing, the first 2 days, I'm literally lying down and throwing up. I tried all the medications, everything possible. Nothing works for me. So that is complicated because then Simon is left alone to do all the work. Obviously, if it's any stress or anything, I have to get up and do it.
I think for me there's two things. One is that it doesn't matter how well you keep your boat, and if you watched our videos, and there's over 200 videos we've made over the last couple of years, we show a lot of maintenance. In fact, nearly all the maintenance that we do on the boat. But the damn boat keeps breaking. It doesn't matter how good it is, even brand new boats break, and it's one of the things us boaters are always saying, what's broken this week, life just seems to go on like that. But also I found the offshore sailing quite stressful actually. You can't drop the anchor in the middle of the ocean. The ocean's a couple of miles deep, so we've only got 100 meters of anchor chain. So there's no way in the world it can go down that far. So you have to keep going, basically, and you just keep sailing. And so
nights are very difficult for us, for both of us. We don't like to do the nights, and we obviously have to do it.
So we basically split the night into 4 shifts of 3 hours. Carla does the first 3 hours from 7 o'clock, and then we rotate through to 7 o'clock in the morning. But you're actually sailing along, and you can't see anything. There's nothing out there to see. And so if you were to come across something like a shipping container or a tree trunk or a whale or something like that, you're going
to hit it. Even if you are on watch, you're going to hit it because you can't see anything. You are on watch just to see if the wind changes, if the sails need some adjustment. I
mean, we get information on other boats and ships. So first of all ships and boats, vessels have navigation lights, but also everything from around about our size of yacht upwards, we have to have a thing called AIS, which is a system that comes up on our plotter, which actually shows you where another vessel is, the name of the vessel, direction it's going, its speed, and its final destination. So it'll also tell us whether we're going to cross paths and how close we're going to come. And that's extremely useful for safety.
I imagine. So it's basically a radar.
No, it takes it over the VHF radio system.
I see.
So
okay. And what's the name of that system?
It's called AIS.
AIS. And so not all boats are equipped with that, but if you are, then it helps.
Yeah, you find a lot of fishing boats don't have it, smallish fishing boats, and they can be quite difficult sometimes because they don't go in a straight line. They kind of zig around and go.
But I imagine you've never actually hit anything, have you?
No, we hit a lump of coral once, but that was under the water. Well, we've never hit another vessel. We've had a few. I mean, we're talking about super tankers and cruise liners here when you're out in the middle of the ocean. I mean, if one of those is coming within a mile of us, I would radio them up on the radio and ask them whether they knew that we were here, because they may not know, they may have missed us, just to make sure they know, because actually they have to give way to us. And most of them are really good. You can actually see them change their course to give you a little bit more space. And they normally come on the radio and talk to you and have a little chat.
Oh, cool. That's convenient. What about the other challenges or the advice that you would give to somebody who's thinking about copying your life and saying, wow, despite the challenges, it sounds so great, I would love to do this. What would you advise them to do?
Go and have a course first. Learn how to sail.
Yeah, learn how to sail, get a bit of experience, and
because
gradually.
a lot of people just go on the life and they don't really know how to sail, and it's dangerous. It is a dangerous life. You need to know what to do. I mean, I didn't know how to sail, but Simon is an experienced sailor, so I'm fine with him. Now I learned a lot.
You're good.
You need to learn before you go. Before buy a boat, just learn, have some experience before. That's the first advice, isn't it?
It is an amazing lifestyle. I mean, it is out of this world. I mean, sometimes you just kick yourself because you think this is so stunningly beautiful where we are. And it's not like going and seeing a country and landing at an airport and then you get a taxi to a hotel and you go to the beach. You're seeing the real place. You're mixing with the real people. You're anchoring in places that most people would never, ever get to go. And the sunsets and the sunrises. And also the community. The community is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's so easy to go across to another boat, and we might well pick a British boat because they speak English. But we go along, knock on the side of the boat and say, "Hi, I'm Simon, I'm Carla. Fancy coming over for some drinks later tonight for the sunset?" And people just rock up and bring a bottle of wine or a few beers or something.
Because it was one of the first worries we had at the beginning. We were very social, and we left our friends in the UK. And how are we going to do? Are we going to miss the friends? How is going to happen? But we fast learned that
it's very easy to make
friends.
We've been on this coast of Portugal for about 6 weeks now. We know so many people.
So many
on other
people,
boats. It's incredible.
Is there any tension or rivalry between people who have motor yachts versus sailing yachts?
No, I don't think so, actually. I think that's a bit of a myth. There could be, I suppose, if I go back to my days in the Solent, which is an area of the south coast of England by the Isle of Wight, and it's one of the busiest sailing areas in the world. And then you get the big powerboat guys coming through and creating a big wash and things like that. But I think when you actually get out to the more remote places in the world, you don't get the power boats because they simply can't get there. It would be too expensive. I mean, you can't take one of these what we call gym palaces across the ocean because they can't carry enough fuel to do 2,000 or 3,000 miles. So once you get out and going on these sort of trips, really you only see power boats or local boats, local fishermen or things like that.
Right. Interesting. Wow. So I'm very excited to talk with you guys because this is one of my dreams myself at some point
well, you need to sell up and get on with it because I can tell you'll regret not doing it sooner rather than later.
It's true. It's true. No, I definitely have to do it. I'm also with you. I agree that the catamarans are the best
I think
and having something that's livable.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations we sailors have about which is the best monohulls or catamarans.
We have a friends here, a couple. They bought their boat 2 years ago in the UK. So they were weekend sailors for 2 years, and their boat were fine. It was a new boat. They absolutely loved their boat. And they started the journey 3 months ago. And they just arrived here in Portugal, and they realized they have the wrong boat for the journey. Yeah. So they put the boat on the market and they're buying a catamaran.
It's kind of like getting the right tool for the job. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And actually, if you're going to live on board and you're going to cruise the trade winds, which is from Europe down across the Caribbean, then on down towards Australia, New Zealand, that sort of thing, the wind is generally behind you. And catamarans go really well downwind, and they're very smooth as they do it. If you're going into the wind in a catamaran, it does get a bit lumpy and uncomfortable, and it doesn't do the job anywhere near as well. So it's a matter of choosing your tool. I mean, I don't think I'd go down to Terra del Fuego, for example. Just be better off in a monohull.
Right. Do you have plans to go to the Pacific Ocean?
We did originally, yes, we had. Yes, that was our plan. And as we got further and further away from home, time zone wise, we started to realize by the time we were in Colombia that it's getting quite difficult to start speaking to the children about 5-6 hours out, and from here it's only going to deteriorate. And also once we go through the Panama Canal and go out towards Galapagos or wherever, the time zones will get worse for us. for the children, and also the distance involved in getting back. It starts to get more complicated.
And for them to visit us, because they come and visit us quite a lot, so it's going to be more difficult.
Yeah, so we also we saw an awful lot of the Caribbean as a whole, not just like the Lesser Antilles, but we went all over to Panama, Cuba, Mexico, and so we kind of got quite used to the third world type place. And to be honest, I think we got a bit third world out, and we started to feel that we would be happier back in the Mediterranean, where there's a lot more culture around, a lot more interesting archaeological sites to go and look at, and some fantastic sailing and some fantastic waters. So that's what we decided to do.
What is the expenses look like for somebody? Because I imagine being in a third world country, in low income country, it's going to be much cheaper to moor your boat at some sort of at a marina.
That
Or is that a myth?
That depends. If you are in the Caribbean, you don't have many choices in terms of marinas.
In the actual Caribbean itself, what we call the Caribbean islands, from Grenada, say, up to the BVI's or the Bahamas, there aren't actually that many marinas. And in fact, a lot of the islands don't have a marina. So your only option is to take a mooring buoy, if there is one available, or to drop your anchor. And generally, as boaters, we prefer to be on the anchor because generally we don't pay for it. And if you're in the BVI's, for example, they'll charge you $10 a night for a mooring buoy. Well, that's okay if you're on your 1 week charter. You just spend $30 a night. Sorry, $30 a night. So if you're on your 1 week's charter, you pay $200. But for us, it's an awful lot of money for a month. It really does start to add up. So we all tend to go to places where we can just anchor. If you took going to food, for example, and talking about food, we couldn't believe the prices we were paying in the sort of Caribbean islands. Places like Mexico, Panama, Colombia were all relatively cheap, yes. Certainly on a par with Europe. But we've just made a video about the cost of food in comparison, and we were looking at some things. And if you took, for example, the Bahamas, Cayman, Bermuda, you'd be paying something in the region of about $5 for a pint of milk there.
$7 for a loaf of bread, and here is 50 cents.
Yeah, right. And here it's 50 cents.
Yeah, so.
Right, I know that Angola, or Luanda, the capital there, was rated the most expensive
city in the world,
for expatriates to live in, and I can confirm that it was.
I don't find it makes any sense, really. Do you know what I mean? You know, because they probably grow oranges in their backyards, you know, and they've got chickens everywhere.
I think what it is, Simon, is that with regard to Angola, for example, I think it's the most expensive place for expatriates to live because expats, they like to go to their market to buy their Kellogg's of, whatever cereal. And if you want to buy bananas, you can buy them in Angola easily, even in the streets of Luanda, but you just have to go to the right local supermarket. You don't go to where all the foreigners, the expats, go to shop. And then you'll see the normal price of a banana or whatever, or things that are grown locally like a papaya.
And when they see you white European, they probably stick the price up by double.
Well, it's not. It depends. If it's a local market, the prices are there, and so. But you're right. Maybe if you're buying it from the street of a vendor who doesn't even have a sign up for the price, then he might. But even his price, when he doubles it, will be cheaper than
the supermarket.
The supermarket that's designed for expatriates. But what? So you're saying that you drop anchor. So your monthly expenses are what exactly? I mean, you're just spending a few $100s a month to.
I would say
your food.
It's food, it's insurance.
Insurance.
It's
how much is insurance, for example, on a boat that costs $200,000?
Depends where you are in the world.
Yes. So in the Mediterranean.
Wait, whoa! You don't have to. You can't get an insurance that's global.
No. They split the world up into different areas. So, for example, we would have. What we call in the UK Brest Elbe. So that would be from Brest on the French peninsula all the way along the English Channel up to the Elbe River in Germany. And so that would be one zone. And another zone, for example, is from Gibraltar through the Mediterranean to Rhodes. And then Turkey is sort of added on the end.
Once you cross the Atlantic to the Caribbean, it just doubles.
Well, it doesn't, it triples almost, because we were paying 1,200 euros
in the Mediterranean
per year for the insurance. And in the Caribbean, we were paying about 3,600.
Yes.
3,600 for a year.
Yeah.
For a year, yes.
Wow. And so can you use the same insurance company and just change the rate depending on where you are? That's what you do?
Yes.
So exactly. Give me the range. Is the high end $5,000 a year and the low end?
Well, when you go out to the Pacific, it went up to about
4,800. Yeah.
4,800.
And that's a function in, because I assume maybe in the Pacific there's more accidents and more things happen that are.
Yeah, I think the risk is higher to them. There's bigger stretches of water. You have to go 3 weeks between islands and things like that. And there's less chance of getting a boat repaired anywhere. So the risk of something happening to it means that, the cost to get it repaired would be much more for them.
Okay, so we're looking at insurance costs of roughly $3,000 a year, something like that, which is like rent in London.
Yes.
So, for 1 month.
I was going to say there's going to be a lot more in London. Generally speaking, we work on around about $1,000 a month, don't we?
Yeah, 1,200 euros. Yeah.
Okay.
More or less.
And is it hard to be subject to the vagaries of the YouTube algorithm and the struggle to that? What have you found the most successful videos that you've made, the ones that have been shared the most, viewed the most? Is there a formula, or does it feel random?
Well, if there is a formula, we haven't found it yet.
We haven't found it yet, but if you actually go through the videos and look at the titles, the ones with the highest views are things like "We Had to Go Naked." And,
even if you don't go naked, but it just suggests something like that, and then the video just goes up, you know what I mean?
And bikini shots with thumbnails certainly do work. I'm sorry, the YouTube mail is quite thin. Really.
Okay.
You have your friend there too.
Yeah. So there is no rhyme or reason as far as, other than the fact that if it's sexy, then it might sell.
Yeah, I think so. I think actually what you generally what you want to do is you want to give a professional program as professional as you can make it, and that's in the filming of it and the editing of it, and actually have a story for your program. I was looking at a survey only this morning, and out of all the things that people could rate a program for, the storyline was the most important. And you need to be a likable couple. People need to buy into you. Yeah. They're not just happy to see a grumpy old man talk about how to get a spanner out to fix the seacocks or something. They actually want to buy into your people. So you can actually start to build up a loyal audience, and that's really.
You need to sell your personality.
Yeah. Because you can't have every week come out with a program, or in our case 3 times a week come out with a program, although we had to go naked. It just doesn't work.
It's not sustainable. What is so that you can tell the people where to find you on either Instagram, YouTube, all these things? What's the best way?
So our website is www.sailingoceanfox.com. You can find us on YouTube at Sailing Ocean Fox, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram too at Sailing Ocean Fox.
Great. So it's a consistent brand. That's helpful.
Yes.
And what are your plans going forward for this decade?
Well, the next thing we have, actually, I'm going to let you in on a secret, put the boat on the market because we want to go for something slightly longer. But
how many feet or meters is your boat currently right now?
It's 40 feet.
It's 40 foot at the moment. Yeah.
Which is a decent size. I mean, it's not.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's more than big enough to live on. I mean, we've got 2 hulls. So one hull on the starboard side, we use the whole hull. It's got a king-size bed and then a whole dressing room area and then a bathroom, then a shower room. So we've got plenty of space. And on the other side of the boat, there's 2 double cabins and another set of toilets and showers.
It's just a few things like the galley, the kitchen. I would like it to have a bit bigger because I cook a lot. We cook all our meals on the boat. So,
But if everything goes according to plan, we're going to stay here in Portugal until the end of the year because crossing the Atlantic basically took us 3 months with all the bits and pieces, and we found it terribly exhausting. And so we want to have a bit of a rest and just kind of enjoy the scenery because it is absolutely stunning. But going forward after the new year, we'd like to go up to the Balearic Islands again, which are Mallorca, Ibiza, and Minorca, the Spanish islands. And because they were absolutely stunning, we really didn't spend enough time there.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd like to do that.
Yeah.
And if we have time and the weather treats us well, we'd like to go up into the Black Sea, which is right up through Istanbul, for the middle of next summer. And for the winter next year, we would like to go down to the Red Sea through the Suez Canal.
You should go to Yalta right there. It's
Where's
beautiful.
that? I've never heard of it.
Yalta is right in the Crimea it was Ukraine. I guess now it's de facto Russia.
Yeah.
But since you're going into the Black Sea, you go to Istanbul, then you just...
Yeah.
I took a boat. It was a 3-day journey, if I remember correctly. It was a motorboat. No, sorry. Was it an overnight? I can't remember if it was 1 night or 2 nights. Anyway, it just went from... it wasn't Odessa. I went from, I think it was Odessa to Istanbul, or it was Istanbul. Anyway, whatever. It's a nice boat ride.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. Since you're there, I mean, it would be fun to, but I don't know, again, what I imagine is the challenge is always is having visas. A lot of places may not have visas on arrival.
You'd have to get a visa for Russia. Yeah.
Right.
And that might be a little bit complicated because they'd have to really know we were coming. We couldn't just rock up, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right.
And from now we have another problem, which is COVID-19. So we will have to deal with that too.
Yeah, we have to deal with that. And
how does that? So that just affects where you can go internationally, but it doesn't really affect you too much, other than you can't invite random people on the boat without having social distancing.
Some countries are closed, so
some countries are closed. And to say, for example, when we were in the Bahamas, when it really struck COVID-19, they were in complete lockdown. We weren't even allowed off the boat, not even to go and get provisions from the supermarket or gas or fuel or anything.
So what were you supposed? How would you get food? I mean, what do you do?
Well, we had to sneak ashore. Basically, we had to go and find a remote place. Take the dinghy, beach it, and then try and hitchhike to a supermarket. It was all a bit undercover. Yeah. We got caught once, but the guy told us we weren't allowed to do this, but he wasn't going to say anything.
Wow.
And when we got to Bermuda, they were in lockdown there, and we had to spend 14 days in lockdown on the boat. We weren't allowed to go to shore for anything, but they would bring supplies to the boat. Unfortunately for us, I've got a friend who lives in Bermuda, and he managed to send us out some cases of wine and rum, so we were quite lucky there. But they did seem to work out that at the end of the 14 days, we were free to walk around, and it took to the 19th day for them to finally agree that we would...
and we had to call the British Embassy to help us.
We had to get the British Embassy involved to basically kick ass. Yeah. And when we were the only tourists on the island. And we stayed there for about another 4 weeks, which was absolutely fantastic, because Bermuda is expensive but a beautiful island. Absolutely beautiful.
Right. Amazing. Well, I'm very excited to hear about your journey, and I wish you the best. I hope you get a lot of subscribers onto YouTube. Continue that journey. I know making videos is a lot of work. And some people, I think,
to the laptop for 10 hours today.
Yeah. People just don't realize how much, especially if you want to do any kind of editing at all, if you want to put some sort of text on it, or even if you want to link, show other related videos, it's just a ton of work, and people just consume it in, let's say, 2-3 minutes, and then they don't realize all the work that went into it. So I congratulate you for doing that. I hope it works out really well for you.
Thank you.
And that you keep sailing. And so you're going to upgrade yourself from a 40-foot boat to a...
We're going to go longer. Decision hasn't been made
We're
yet.
not sure yet how much longer we go.
Last question. This is a question I've been asking many people, but I never seem to get like a definitive answer, and I don't think I'll get it from you either, but I'll try. So here's my crazy idea. I want to do some boat arbitrage. And so I imagine there's parts of the world, let's say the exact same boat is, let's say, is in the European peninsula, or whatever, the Mediterranean Sea. And that exact same boat maybe could be found in Thailand for much cheaper, or vice versa. So in other words, there's an arbitrage opportunity in the sense that you could buy the boat in the place that's cheap, sail it to the place that's expensive, and sell it there.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
You buy one in Turkey, so that there's no VAT involved, because in European we have value-added tax. So if you buy one in Turkey, you buy a charter boat there, and you sell it to one of the big French islands, or the US Virgin Islands, or Florida, and you sell it there. And with a little bit of careful planning, I could almost guarantee you'll make a profit.
Aha! So you are the first Simon person. You're the first person to actually.
I have actually thought about doing it, and it is a possibility that we may set ourselves a task to buy a boat, kitch it out as much as we need to get ourselves across the Atlantic, and sell it at the other end and see whether we can make a profit. And I think the answer is yes, you would. And the other place, of course, is to take it to Australia and New Zealand, because they love European boats there. And everybody I've ever spoken to has said that they've sold their boat for a profit if they sell it down there.
Wonderful. So that's the secret. And I appreciate your time, and we will be in touch, and I'll share your boat. So one last time, your Ryan visitors, where to find you? You
can find us at Sailing Ocean Fox on all platforms. That includes Facebook, Instagram, and on the web.
And that concludes this episode of the WanderLearn podcast, where we explore travel, technology, and transformation. If you'd like to see the show notes with links to what we talked about, or if you'd like to comment on the show, or if you'd like to ask me a question, then go to WanderLearn.com and click on this episode. If you'd like to connect with me, just remember Tapon. That's my first initial and my last name. Tapon is the username I use on all social media. You can also get to my website by going to ftapon.com. And here's one last reason to remember Tapon. If you like what I do and would like to get rewarded for supporting my projects, then go to patreon.com/ftapon. That's where you can pick up some remarkable rewards for as little as $2 a month. And now for 5 quick favors. Number 1, subscribe to the WanderLearn podcast. 2, download it. 3, share it. 4, review it somewhere. And 5, sign up for my newsletter at WanderLearn.com. Our theme music was composed by Eric Stratman. This is Francis Tapon, encouraging you to wander and learn.